name is Shingai Darangwa. I am a creative entrepreneur. Creative entrepreneur means that I basically do a whole bunch of entrepreneurial exercises that are around creativity. So whether it's music, whether it's film, whether it's literature, whatever it is that comes to mind that involves creativity and entrepreneurship is what I try and involve myself in. Typical day in my world. I think of late I've been extremely focused on helping Denise Zimba find her brand and bring it back out in the entertainment space. So when I wake up, I usually touch base with her first, just to figure out, what are we doing today? What are we getting involved in? What time are we linking up? If she's in town, sometimes she's in Cape Town, sometimes she's in Germany. Usually my day, I touch base with her. After I touch base with her, I touch base with the rest of the team. I touch base with whatever stakeholders we're dealing with that are involved in her project. And then I touch base with everybody else. So usually my day lately starts with Denise, and then I touch base with the rest of my team. I'm a writer. Like, the way I got into entrepreneurship and the creative world is that I was writing. So I first started writing for the Africa Report, I think 2016, 2017, and ever since then I've just used it as a way for me to share my view on the arts and culture space. So I usually go to them when I have an idea for something that I want to do, and they will usually support. So right now I've been seeing the stuff that Focalistic's been doing. I spoke with them, and now we're doing a whole little dope feature about Focalistic. And that's just how it usually works. So I usually write with them maybe once every 2 months, whenever I get inspiration or something comes up that I want to be involved in. My work at the Africa Report has just allowed me to have an eye for culture. Like, in fact, the next phase of my career that I'm trying to go into is that I'm trying to be, I want to be involved in generating cultural equity. So even now with Denise, with the stuff, we're helping her build a podcast because that just helps her get a footing in culture. It helps me get my footing in culture. So whenever there's interesting topics to talk about that I find interesting, we can discuss that on our own platform. So the Africa Report has really just allowed me to have that sense of trying to figure out what's happening, how do we share this, how do I interpret what's happening in culture, and how do I share that with the world. African hip-hop is tricky right now, man. African hip-hop it's like we're in a difficult position. But it's also, I think what the position that African hip-hop is in right now is similar. It's doing something like what the COVID experience did to us, where we have to look back and see what we're doing and reinvent ourselves. So Amapiano, for example, is such a challenge, but people like Focalistic, who I mentioned earlier on, is figuring out how to bring hip-hop into Amapiano. Profound, who's next door, Denise's producer, he's a hip-hop producer, but he's diving into Afro piano and then bringing hip-hop onto piano. So I think if you're going to survive in African hip-hop right now, you need to reinvent yourself and figure out how to exist in this space right now. I did that in 2015. Because I'm a writer, I love comedy too. I love hip hop, so it just made sense for me to do I just try to figure out a very creative way to do something that had to do with hip hop, comedy, and culture. So I decided to do a Shakespearean drama. So, I used hip hop characters in the essay like Nasty C, aka Casper, and then I used Shakespearean language for them to interact with each other. So it was an interesting thing. It was fun. It was also just for me to test my creative limits and express myself within the space that I exist. That's really what I want to be involved in going forward, is just figuring out ways to express all the creative things that I'm involved in and do it in a unique way. Punchline is my first ever company. I founded Punchline in 2015 when I met my new world star, and I had always had it in mind for me to run my own independent record label and talent management agency. So Punchline was what we started. Manu was the first artist we jumped into. Long story short, we dropped a couple hits, went platinum, and it's been interesting ever since. Manu World Star is the first artist I managed. I discovered Manu when I was a writer at Live Magazine. He came in for an interview, and there was just something about his swagger that I was very drawn to, and I had it in mind that I had to be involved in this guy's story somehow. So I linked with him afterwards. I figured that he needed a team behind him, and then I made it my mission to build a team around him. And yeah, it's been the first 2 years of that journey were difficult. I was just investing, putting in money into building the Manu brand, interacting with different producers, obviously buying clothes. In hip hop, you have to look fire. And then, 2018, we caught a hit. 3 years in, man, we've been hustling. We caught a hit called Nalingi, became one of the biggest songs in the country, one of the biggest songs in the continent, and till this day, it's still, changed our lives. So yeah, Manu World Star was a life-changing moment that really, taught me about investing in your own stuff and building equity in your own brand. Collaborative campaigns. I mean, look, collaboration is everything in my space. Strategic collaborations and partnerships help you accelerate. So, like for example, with the podcast we're starting, we're gonna come at a phase where we're looking for collaboration and collaborative campaigns to help us boost our podcast and take us to the next level. Whether it's partnerships with Spotify, partnerships with whatever brand it is. It's very, very important for anybody who's involved in entrepreneurship to collaborate and be involved in different campaigns that help you accelerate your brand. To be honest, I didn't know this Workers Month until like a week ago, bro, because, it's not something that people speak about much, I guess. And that also speaks to how workers in general don't get much attention. For me personally, just being in creativity, even just in my family, my mom it took long for her to understand that the stuff that I'm doing is serious work. Like, she always just thought entertainment, what is this, blah, blah, blah. But, it was only actually until last year when I brought her to my album launch. And then at the launch, she saw AKA, she saw Ami Faku and stuff. And then afterwards, she's like, I didn't know that stuff that you do. That. So, for me, it's just about, it helps me realize that we have a long way to go for the work that we're doing in entertainment to be taken seriously. And that there's a lot of people involved in entertainment who people don't appreciate their work, especially when you're working with an artist, like being behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know me, which is fine, but the work that I do is super important. And the work that my team does is super important. So to me, it's just about like figuring out a way to appreciate everybody in entertainment who's putting in work. Yeah. My grandmother told me that, like, I think I was talking about an idea that I had, and then I was just speaking about it casually. And then she was just like, yo, everything you do it with a punch, and what I interpreted that to mean was everything that you do, you have to be aggressive, you can't be lackluster about it, you can't, you have to go in full-blooded. And that's what inspired me to name my first company Punchline. I was just like, yo, let's go hard, let's come in with a punchline, especially because I had to do with music. So I still carry that with me with whatever I do. Like everything that I do, I want to do aggressively. I don't want to do it soft. Even the way I speak aggressive. And that's it. That's dope. It's actually something that I've been grappling with lately, especially in the entertainment space that I'm in. You're usually looking out for everybody else. Like, you're trying to make sure everybody's good, and at a certain point you realize that everybody's looking out for themselves. So it's made me, even though I'm still a caregiver as an artist manager and entrepreneur, I also need to make sure that, I get my stuff in order so that I'm not the one who's cut out. So I think everybody in youth, never forget about yourself. Like, you have to make sure that you're watching your back, because nobody else is watching your back while you're watching everybody else's back. So yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about a lot. It's like, yo, even in the projects that I'm doing, instead of like just giving it away or whatever, let me have my own equity in it, so that, yo, if anything falls apart in this relationship, I'm still able to to enjoy the fruits of the labor that I've put in. Hi Love Lifers, my name is Shingai Darangwa. I am a creative entrepreneur. Find me on Twitter at Shingai Darangwa. Find me on Instagram at Shingai Darangwa. Find me on Facebook at Shingai Darangwa. I'm not super active and stuff, but yo, there's still some content there for you guys.